But look, you're right, though. I mean, these are Band-Aid fixes, and we are being plunged into oblivion in this country, and that is the problem. Look, I must ask you about the latest polling, Garth, which shows that the Coalition's primary vote is down to 33%, but also Labor's is low at the same time. Now, look, pre-poll opens on Tuesday. How are you feeling heading into the final 2 weeks of the campaign?
Well, certainly the questions that I'm getting on the ground are questions of economic management and what it's going to look like for the next 3 years. Everyone, when I ask the question, are you better off than you were 3 years ago, resoundingly answers no. But when they look ahead at how much worse things could get in another 3 years under a minority government, I think that question starts to become a much harder even than it is today. So I see the polling and we acknowledge it. But I think when people get into that booth and they feel the weight of the vote in their hand and they remember back to that 2010 to 2013 period when the minority government of the Gillard era just drove us so far to the left. The damage this could do from where we are now, I think, is huge. When people think about 10 years of deficits in front of them and having no solid economic management to secure the future, things may very well change.
Yeah, and I mean, that was a disaster back then under that minority government, but this brand of Greens is even more extreme and even more dangerous for this country. And that is a serious, serious worry if it is indeed a minority government. Now, look, let's talk about the Teals, because Teal MPs Zali Steggall and Sophie Scomps both claim that they are waiting for the facts before deciding who to support in a minority. The pair have told the Daily Telegraph that they are actually open to negotiating with Peter Dutton and insist that there is no pre-existing deal with Anthony Albanese and Labor. Garth, I mean, given the Teals vote with the Greens the majority of the time, do you really think that they are indeed open to negotiating with the Coalition?
It may sound strange, but I think they'll do whatever it takes to stay in their seats, and they'll say whatever it takes to stay in their seats. The damage that's been done to the Teal brand over the last couple of months, as we've seen the revelations of integrity fails in almost every Teal seat, every sitting Teal has stepped outside the bounds of what I think is normal ethical behaviour for a politician over the last couple of months. And the questions just keep mounting up. So I think that they need to say this, Danica, to hold their seats. They need to say this and keep up that pretense that they are somehow independent. The reality is, in much the same way as, a member from Wentworth has been accused of using influences, these guys have been used by Simon Holmes at court. He controls what they say. They're there at his bidding. And we need to acknowledge that. These aren't people who are independent thinkers. They're people who are part of an ideology. And the pretense is going to come to a very sharp end, I feel.
Yeah, I completely agree. Now, look, speaking of preferences, the Trumpet of Patriots, of course, Clive Palmer's party, they're putting the Teals and the Greens ahead of the Liberal Party and One Nation. What's going on here?
Well, this is very bizarre. I think it comes to the question of why you put your name forward on the ballot. Are you there to make Australia a better place, to constructively contribute, to advance policies that, change the world for the better? Or are you there for chaos? And I think, sadly, we're seeing chaos is the answer here. I think Mr. Palmer's going to have a very hard time convincing his supporters that they should be preferencing Teals, they should be preferencing Greens ahead of the LNP. I think that's going to be very difficult for him to explain, but that's entirely on him. Ideally, get the message through to people. The only way to stop Labor government continuing on is to vote LNP.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Garth Hamilton, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining me.